Okay, I'm going to show you guys a quick video on how I attach my bias tape. So I have my bias tape. Um, I'm going to be working on the right side of my fabric, pinning to the right side. I'm going to find my center back. I always like to start in a not obvious place, so I don't want to start right in the front or on the side right here. So the back is a great place to start. You're going to open it up and you're going to fold over about 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to put in a pin so you can see. Okay, so I have it pinned to my right sides together. And I am going to go ahead and pin this all the way around. You want to make sure that you fold it here because this is going to finish it when you flip it over. So I have pinned all the way around, right sides to right sides. I did want to mention to you, make sure so like my shoulder seams on the inside, make sure they're going the same direction. So when you pin down your bias tape, you don't want your seams twisted on the inside. So double check that they're going the same way. I've pinned all the way around. I like to leave this open until I get to it with the machine, just in case it shifts or stretches a little bit. I don't have to worry about it. And then you're going to sew right over this, right past the little folded part, and that's how you'll combine them. And we are going to sew this at about 1/4 of an inch, and you can use your first fold line as a guide. So you're going to sew right along that 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and then when you get to the end, you're going to pull this over and overlap it with the folded area, and you're going to want to just sew right over top of the folded part underneath. So I have sewed all the way around. I have my excess right here that I'm going to trim off. Okay. So there's my little fold underneath, and I went right past it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to trim where we just sewed. We're going to trim up this 1/4 of an inch, and then you might need to cut your curves or nip into your curves a little bit just to help it lay nicer. And that's literally just taking a small pair of scissors and putting a little clip where it starts to curve really tight around the neckline or armhole, and that'll help it lay nicer. Okay, so I have trimmed and snipped my seam on the inside. Next, we're going to iron. I think it's nice to use a ham because you're going around a curve. So we are going to iron this seam right here. If you look underneath, we want this seam to go forward. So it's going towards the camera right now, and we're going to press this all the way around so it will help it turn easier. Okay, so we're ready to fold it to our inside of our garment. This is the right side of my garment. So I have a double fold, so I'm going to try and do this. So I'm going to fold it on the crease line once. So that's my first fold. And then I'm going to fold it again. It's hard to do. Okay, then I'm going to fold it again underneath And so this is my inside of my garment, and this is my right side. So I'm gonna pin this, and I'm gonna press it to make sure that this line stays really nice and crisp, and my bias tape doesn't go over. Okay, so I have ironed and pinned my bias tape all the way around. So as you can see, if I hold it back, this is the outside and it's on the inside. This is what I was talking about to make sure that this is nice and crisp, especially if you're using a different color like I am, so it doesn't fall over onto the right side of the fabric. A couple things: make sure that when you tuck this, that your fold goes all the way down when you sew it. So that's how you get that finished edge. Sometimes the fold wants to roll up. So make sure that is folded over. And then if you have a really thick fabric, I have a very light fabric and a very light bias tape. So it's really easy for me to do the double. If you find that it gets really thick, especially if you're doing a French seam on your shoulders, you can opt and just fold it over once. So it would be a much thicker band on the inside, but sometimes if the fabric is too thick, it's really hard to fold it double like this. So that's an option too. And then whatever option you choose, you're just going to sew on the edge of your folded part of your folded bias tape, and you're gonna sew that all the way around. I recommend sewing on the wrong side, just because if you miss this, if you're sewing on the right side, you have to take the whole thing out and then smooth it out, and if it gets caught or undone like this, like if part of that comes open, so it's just easier to see when you're sewing on the wrong side. So I wanted to just show a quick little video of how I'm sewing it. So I'm keeping really close to the edge right there. And I like to take my pins out a little bit before so I have time to flatten it, because sometimes it bunches up because you're on the curve, so then you can kind of pull it nice and straight again. I'll just bring it a little closer just so you can see. So I'm sewing right at that edge. Okay, I gave it another press so it would lay nice and flat. Just a little note, remember, if you're using different colored bias tape like I am, you can change your thread. So my top feeder I put in white, and then the bottom one I put in navy. That way on the inside you can't see the navy, and if you make a mistake or go off the seam a little bit, it's not noticeable at all. So helpful hint there. And that is it. Super easy. All right, thanks guys.